So it's been nearly a year since we set up shop here in the annex, and I've finally got the playroom wired up, but also we're hiring. So I thought this would be a nice opportunity to show you around the place, see what's changed, reintroduce you to this wonderful, very elegant and attractive team, present company accepted, with you to hopefully coming and working with us. So behind the camera we have Robbie and Jack, who's going to
Shall I take over?
do the honours with that. And let's go in. So we don't have many shops local, do we, guys?
Not really, no.
But we do have a really nice kitchen. So people tend to bring in like a week's worth of food, and we try and stock up with. We've got really nice coffee and stuff like that. That's where I like to work, because it's got a nice view out into the garden, and I can keep an eye on my shed. How would you describe this room? It's kind of our hot desk room, isn't it?
The beating heart.
The beating heart, exactly.
The
So
room.
Jack tends to edit there, Robbie there, and Anna, who's our producer, sits there. And there's a really nice view of Craig Miller Castle. We've got this beautiful Boston ivy around as well that goes bright red in a few weeks' time. Pretty much running off laptops these days, aren't we?
Pretty much entirely.
Yeah, and we've got a kind of a mega studio one for processing. My world has been changed by switching to laptop. Having this kind of seamless operation. It's fantastic. This is our storeroom. This was going to be your room, Robbie, but it's a bit lonely in here, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit lonely and dark. So we've got our camera selection. We've actually got some cameras set up upstairs. What are we using there? FX3.
3.
But we're also big Lumix fans, and have some stuff like, that's a film camera, that's a Leica camera that has a black and white sensor, which is very sexy. But it's lovely. It's the first time in my life I've had an area, or we've had an area, where you can just come in and fucking find stuff. It's amazing. We're going to be actually doing some eBaying of stuff soon, aren't we? Some of it's become redundant. However, because of the big announcement on Thursday, we may be making use of these again in the shed. Ever since being a fan of Casey and Van Neistat, I've always wanted an overhead camera. Basically, you're going to see some new packaging design that I'm doing with like Gizmo's odds and sods. They're actually virtual, so I do virtual set dressing. So we're doing some experiments at the moment with background removal, and also with keying, to see if keying is something that we can do as well. But basically, all the sexy overhead shots will be done in here. And if we don't use that, that's quite a nice thing for filming as well, unboxing, that kind of stuff. For those of you who didn't see the last tour, I lived here for a while, and every time I walked down these stairs, I fell down this step because it's half the size of the one before it. So be careful of the red step. Here's Theo's room. How you doing, mate? Has Anna just gone and hid? You have, haven't you? If any of you have got the Volts Shimmer guitar, it's this one, isn't it?
It was planning to be that, but it turned out to be a gift.
Can we take a photograph of this for the packaging, Robbie? That would be great. So Theo's a fantastic guitarist, an amazing composer, and is good at finding the really good shit. And stealing. One of the reasons I emptied my shed was because so much of the stuff wasn't being used. So I love the idea that people can come and just grab stuff and make use of it. And hopefully at some point we're going to expand. There'll be more composers, more studios, and this will be used even more. But some of this stuff has become really valuable, like these things. The Mugafugas, this one. Yeah. It's an analog delay. Google that. You won't believe how much it has appreciated since I bought it. Jimi Hendrix owned that. Mixer King. This place is just full of guitarists. There's kind of some grinning chaps behind there. We've now got a fully wired up playroom, Basically, I think studios are a little bit like moving home. I always recommend when you get a new place that you stay there for about 6 months before deciding how you want it laid out. So we've been working with the space, but now have a setup that I think has been well considered based on how we've used it over the years. This is the kind of demo setup. We reset to this with A cam, B cam, and an overhead cam. It's a single, what's called Thunderbolt in. Everything gets powered from that. And then what we do is we come out of this digiface through into the Apogee via light pipe. And then this is the main computer. It's an old computer, but we're just doing tracking, so it's not kind of processor intensive. And then what I've done is we decided to go with TRS patch bays, so that basically anything could be patched to anything. Anyone could just walk in, whack their cable in, and be connected to anything they like. Oh, also for the anal retentive in you, you might want to look away at my labelling, but I love stuff with a bit of human touch on it. Out of the Apogee and into the Apogee here, and then that can patch through to any of these or any of these, and my lunchbox is now all patched up. Something that we found when we were doing podcasts was the manpower required to set them up was a bit exhausting. We were having to do sound checks, all of that kind of stuff. So what I've done is I've bought 4 dedicated SSL mic pre's. I'm not entirely sure that they're great. I was hoping to use a bit of compression to tape, a bit of EQ, but I find them unreliably noisy. They seem to pick up a lot of signal from elsewhere. So I'm using line-ins, gaining those from the mics, and then a series of plugins that have like massive compressors. A lot of you have noticed that on the last podcast that there was a lot of variation in volume. Hopefully that will solve it. I'm going to put a sign on those saying do not adjust by pain of death. So these will only be used for the podcast, and this one will be used for my tutorials. So basically mic going direct into Apogee via the SSL, and then the actual computer sounds are optical because I want to give you the best sound quality possible. We've also broken down to my stuff that I actually use. So we've got a Overstair, which is my favourite bit of outboard. Culture Vulture, which is just ferocious. Kerwax, just put every track through that with it doing nothing, and you'll be able to mix it in twice the time. Best mic pre all-rounder that I've ever used. Only EQ I'd ever put on strings is the Manley Massive Passive, and I've tried the virtual ones. They don't sound the same. And then the Manley Varimu is a nice compressor. I bought it at a time when Neve, the machine that made their 33609s, printed the circuit boards, was broken. So they weren't making any 33609s. If there's something on my shopping list, it would be a 33609, because I think it's the most musical compressor out there. Got our lunch boxes, and what I've done is I've got compression and dynamics on the top, EQs on the bottom, lots of different flavors there, alongside the Dimension D, which is, if I'm ever processing something that's mono and want it to be stereo, I stick it through that. That, I think, is very similar to the chorus that's in the Juno 6, which is what kind of gives the Juno 6 its character. The Eventide H8000, I think one of the real problems I have with this is the recalling of presets. It's a bit cumbersome, so I tend not to use it as much as I'd like. I'm going to do a thing about vocoders very soon, and I've got my 2 tape effects there. But also you'll see here we've got all of the keyboards are hard patched into that, so basically anything can go anywhere, whether that be the Colossus or indeed Frank over there. Let's go to this side. Oh! So we've got Frank. At the moment I've just got 2 ins, 2 outs from that. We've got the Colossus, which is 2 ins, 2 outs. This top module isn't on at the moment. I'm going to do a video about the most ridiculous synth add-on you could possibly lay your hands on. And then this is something that I've formed a love affair with, this Lombardi Italian mixer from the 70s. Just has a beautiful warmth, and you can't distort it. It doesn't overload. It just kind of crunches the sound, but you don't get this kind of sharp clipping. So that's a nice thing if you're feeling something sounding a bit electronic, doesn't have those nice harmonics, just whack it in this. I'm going to start maybe for some of the podcasts we do live performances. I'm going to start actually mixing this stuff in here now that we're all wired up, just to really help with that beautiful warmth of those largely acoustic instruments that we record. And that's about it really. Everything terminates to a pair of Harbath speakers, which are probably a little bit too big for this room. We're not mixing in here. It's just munging and mangling and processing and all that stuff. Oh, new addition is here. I've got a couple of reamps actually. There's another one in my other room. I've got this station ready to just basically when I want to add something into this whole setup and morph it. But I'm really, really happy with where we're at. And this is how we basically set it up differently, different configuration for podcasts. This is the reset position, and I like to have it with stuff loaded with SD cards so that if I'm have a fit of insomnia, I can come in and do some work, do a video, that kind of stuff. On that note, we're actually going to change our kind of YouTube policy. I've been saying to the gang that I feel that we're marketing too much on the YouTube channel. So we're going to have a specific, this isn't going to be until October, but we're going to be doing walkthrough Wednesdays as an additional film and keeping the Tuesdays, Fridays or Mondays and Fridays clear just for stuff for you guys. So we're not throwing you too much marketing. So we're going to dial up the content production a little bit here, and it'll be clearly branded when it's a bit of marketing content, so you can either jump on it or avoid it. But that's our plan. As I said before, we're looking for a designer. You don't have to be a massively experienced or a doctorate in design or anything like that. We love bringing people up through the ranks, training you on the go. I love working with stuff that's in camera, so real life stuff. You're going to see a new GUI come out, which is made of paper, which I'm excited about. It's more about personality and drive and inventiveness, that kind of creative. We really are a bunch of creatives here. So if you live in the Central Belt or fancy moving to the Central Belt, get in touch with us it's careers@thecrowhillcompany.com. If you know anyone who is a budding designer, and as I said, can be a budding designer, then we would love to speak to you. We would want you to work here at least 3-4 days a week. So that's why we're specifying Central Belt. And for you guys who don't know Scotland, Central Belt is basically Glasgow, Perth, Edinburgh, Musselburgh. That kind of bit. So the bit below is called the Borders, bit north is called the Highlands, Central Belt is the bit in the middle. Glasgow is about an hour on the train from Edinburgh, and we're really close to the station here. So get in touch, careers@thecrowhillcompany.com, and thanks for walking around this place with me. I've got an announcement coming this week, either Thursday or Friday. It's really, really exciting. So do subscribe, ding the bell, one of those, always much appreciated. If you have any friends, if you know anyone or a student who's a budding designer you think would like this job, then please get them to get in touch. See you soon.